Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. So, one of the things that I have noticed, I think I've been doing this for a while, and I really didn't know I was doing it. I have to backtrack a little bit. So, for if you're a regular listener of the podcast, you know that I have a pretty large Facebook group. It's called Breakthrough Emotional Eating, and it helps emotional eaters, learn to manage their thoughts, manage their behaviors, manage their beliefs about themselves, change the way they eat, and then consequently lose weight. And as a result of I have this group. But I have to tell you, when I first started my business, I didn't want to have a group at all. I did not want to have a group. I didn't want to run a group. I didn't want, a group was really scary. And the reason why a group was scary was because I, at that point, had not been ready to share with anybody that I was an emotional eater. And when I finally came to terms with that and realized that I needed to share what was going on with me because I needed to work on myself, that once I did, and I realized that there were so many other people who who had the same issue that I did, it was amazing because I didn't feel so isolated. I didn't feel so shameful. I didn't feel so embarrassed. I didn't feel disappointed in myself because I knew I wasn't the only one. And so, what I kind of reluctantly was, okay, I'll start a group. I started a group. The group took off. The group is now at almost 6,500 people. And so that's been great. And I love that. But when I was doing my own coaching, I was coaching people one-on-one. And I felt like that was the right way to do it. It's the only way that I knew how to do it. So I was always coaching individually one-on-one. I still do that. I still enjoy it a lot. But about 2.5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to try group coaching. It was suggested by my business coach. I was like, totally reluctantly. And I will tell you all that it was amazing. The results that my clients were getting, the results that people have gotten since then has just been like off the charts and it's been so incredibly successful compared to what I was doing when I was doing one-on-one coaching. And the reason why was because there was that connection and there was a sense of accountability. And so when I talk about what's going to make you successful and what's going to almost guarantee you success in what you're trying to do, if you're trying to change something in your life, you're trying to create a new habit that's going to be positive, get rid of a habit that's not serving you, make a whole lifestyle change, look for a new relationship, look for a new job, find a new hobby, any of those things. If you're trying to do that, having people around you, surrounding you, who are not only going through the same thing as you, but who also are there to support and uplift and encourage you, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, absolutely. Like, I can't even begin to say how different it has been for me as a person leading a group to be able to do that and to be able to help people and see how this has changed people's lives by allowing them to be able to connect with other people on a much more intimate level than just in a big group. So today, one of the things that I have just recently instituted in the Breakthrough membership, which is my paid membership, is accountability groups. And so the accountability groups have been incredibly well received. And so I want to talk about why that is so important, why it is important to surround yourself and to make connections with people that are going through and make close connections with people, to have somebody who is right there, that if you are having a tough time and you're having a tough day, you can get on Messenger, you can get on WhatsApp, you can get on a text thread, and you can reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm really having a hard time. And you immediately get 3 other people who are reaching it back out to you saying, oh my gosh, what's going on? You're okay. Don't worry. We got you. I mean, that's the kind of thing that really can change people's direction, can change people's lives, can really allow them to be able to fully embrace what they're doing and be really successful. So I want to talk about not only the reasons some people may be hesitant to join an accountability group, and why people, what the benefits are to it, why it's so good. But I think there are genuinely people, and I know for me, I didn't want to run something like that. I didn't want to have accountability groups. I didn't want to have groups of people. I wanted to work with people one-on-one. But the power in the community and the power in a group and the power in surrounding yourselves with people who are in the same place as you and are working towards the same thing, I could never go back to be doing exclusively one-on-one coaching, because I just don't see it as being something that is in the best interest of my clients and in the best interest of anybody who's looking to change. So I want to talk about how we do it in how we do it in the membership, why it's such a successful thing in the membership, why some people would be hesitant, and then in my free group, how I plan on kind of facilitating something like this within the large free group that I have as well. So everybody's going to benefit from this. So we'll start off with with really why people might be hesitant, because there are a lot of reasons why people would be hesitant, why they would feel like, oh, I'm not like, I just can't do that. I can't put myself out there like that. I can't do that. And I think that it's incredibly valid. I think that these concerns are valid. But I also think that for anyone, and I'm sure many of you, if you're listening to this podcast and you're on Facebook and you possibly are members of other groups, you've been a part of a group on Facebook, you understand that there's a definite different vibe in different groups, because it's based upon how the group is run, what the rules are, and how those rules are enforced. And so there are definitely different energies that go on within groups. And you know that, I mean, I think most people know this when it comes to just like a book club, or, something to that effect. It really can change. If it's run well, it's awesome. If it's not run well, it can be something that can really be challenging. And so I really think that it's important that people understand that there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And so I would really be cautious with people to say, make sure you know the group, make sure you know how the group is run, that you feel comfortable. And we're going to talk about that. So the reasons why people might be concerned about joining an accountability group, the first one is pretty straightforward and completely justified in a lot of situations. And that's the fear of judgment, the fear of getting into a group. You don't know anybody in the group. You don't know how they're going to respond, what they're going to say. They might judge you. They might say, things about you. You don't know. So that fear of judgment, and that is something that, again, starts with whomever is running whatever group you're in. It starts at the top. It starts with that person, and whether or not that is something that is ever, even remotely tolerated. People feel they would feel embarrassed. They don't want to open themselves up like that. Totally get that. One thing that I will say, not only say about the free group that I run, the large free group that I run on Facebook, but also my membership group, both of those places. I have amazing members in the free group as well, and obviously in my membership as well. But in the free group, I have a lot of people in there who are very, very protective of me and very protective of what I do. And I will get, if something not very nice is said, I usually am not the first person to see it. Usually someone else sees it. They message me and they're like, hey, this is what's going on, or they'll report it. And they'll report it like, that wasn't really nice. Didn't like the way that conversation went. And so then I deal with it. And just, for anybody, if you're listening and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community, I pretty much have a zero tolerance for that. So there's not a lot of discussion, because there's not a lot of opportunities for people to be mean, because I just don't tolerate it. So, but it really does take you have to have that trust of knowing that the person who's running the group is going to really make sure that it is someplace where judgments aren't going to be made, because we really want to make sure that that's not happening. like I'm getting a little breakup here. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Yeah, I am. Okay. All right. So the second thing is a lack of trust. And that is when you don't know people. You don't know people and you might not be trusting. You might not trust. And that comes again back up to the top to the person who's running the group. You really have to be aware and make sure that that person is going to be protecting people. So there's that lack of trust. I would also say that you need to be a member of a group to see how a group runs, to see how the messages are facilitated, and make sure that it's run in a way that you're comfortable with. Because again, if you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to be connecting with people, you need to make sure that everybody's in it for the right reasons, that everybody has the same objective that you do, and that is to support, to encourage, and to make sure that people feel like they're built up and that they have people to turn to. So we want to always make sure that trust is there as well. The next thing is a time commitment. People are really, really concerned about the time commitment. What does it mean to be in an accountability group? And so one of the things that I give very, very general guidelines in the membership group about how I want accountability groups, what I want them to do. And mostly it's about supporting, being there for each other, uplifting, and connecting with other people. As a group, the people get to decide on their own how often they want to connect. And if that's something that they want to have it scheduled, they want to have it like we're going to meet, we're going to connect one time a day. We're all going to check in. It might happen more organically that it happens more frequently, but the group of people get to decide. They get to have that autonomy and they get to decide what's going to work for them. The next one, which I think is, again, absolutely valid. And I think it's something that when people are wary of accountability, it usually means that they're not entirely committed to what their goal is. Because accountability means that you are asking other people to hold you accountable. So when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And a lot of people, if they're kind of half in, half out, especially if it's behavior change, especially if it's habit change, they may say, yeah, I really want to change this habit. But when it gets down to it and it gets really, really hard, sometimes having the accountability group is the thing that helps you get through those times. But some people don't even want to be presented with that resistance and with that discomfort. And so instead, they're just like, I don't like accountability groups, because honestly, they don't want someone to say, hey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. And it's not that people are picking on them, but they just don't want to be held accountable because they don't want to have to answer to anybody. And that's, not answering to somebody is totally okay. But not being a part of an accountability group because you really don't want to have to actually follow through, that's when you need to look at you kind of need to do some self-reflection and decide, is this really valuable to me? Do I really want to achieve whatever the goal is, whatever the change is that I'm looking to make, and have the accountability to make sure that I'm following through? Sometimes people don't, and that's okay, because sometimes people aren't ready. They think they are, but they really aren't ready, and that's okay. That's okay. But and I would say, if you are even in the least bit hesitant, don't get involved in an accountability group, because you don't want to let the other people down. You want to be there not only for yourself, but for those other people as well. And the last one is that sometimes people have had a negative experience with an accountability group. They've had a negative experience with being in groups, feeling judged, all the previous things that I talked about. And so they're just like, nope, accountability groups are not for me. They do not work. And that I can, completely understand if somebody feels that way. But you always want to think about having a open heart and an open mind to giving something a chance. So that would be, and I understand sometimes those past experiences, but when we continue to let those past experiences ruin our lives, we don't get to experience things in the present that could possibly move us forward and that could possibly really help us. So we want to make sure that we are able to do that, to be able to be open-minded to things. We can protect ourselves, but we don't want to shut ourselves off completely. So why are accountability groups, why is being held accountable important? Why does it help? Why does it benefit you or anyone else? And in this case, talking about behavior change, talking about changing patterns of thought, because as emotional eaters, we want to change our patterns of thought, how we think about ourselves, how we think about food, how we think about our relationship with food. And then the whole idea of trying to lose weight, there has to be some very large changes that take place. And so it's really important to remember that these tools, there are huge benefits to being a part of an accountability group, to be held accountable to things, because again, if the outcome is really what you desire and you feel like it's going to change your life, you're going to want to have some support. You're going to want to have some people around you to support you on that. So the benefits of being involved in an accountability group are that support and that encouragement, having someone there, having people there that you know. And one of the things that I do in my accountability groups within the membership is I don't have accountability groups that are larger than 4 people. We don't, and I think there's actually one group right now that might be 5 people, and it's a brand new group, but otherwise they don't get larger than 4 people, because I don't want people to get lost. I don't want people to not feel that they have those people to turn to. And so again, whether we're talking about weight loss, whether we're talking about emotional eating, whether we're talking about learning to play the guitar, it doesn't matter. If you are trying to do something new, if you're going back to school, having a homework group is like an accountability group. It's other people that you're connecting with on a topic, on a subject that you're able to then be able to connect with and feel that support and that encouragement. So support and encouragement is super important. Increased accountability in general. We have to be accountable to ourselves. We have to answer to ourselves, but having to answer to other people sometimes can be really, really challenging. We can't be afraid of that. We can't be afraid of being accountable, because the only way that we are able to move forward, if we don't feel like we can keep ourselves accountable, knowing that we need somebody else, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is a huge strength when people are able to recognize that they need that accountability and they need other people to be listening, and they need other people to be supporting them and to be encouraging them. So I think more than anything, know yourself and know what you are going to need in that given situation, depending on what your objective is. The third one, I think this is so important. And I think sometimes people get really, really defensive when they get feedback. And sometimes feedback can be so incredibly valuable and important, because when we hear feedback, we automatically assume that it's negative, because that's what our brain wants us to do. It automatically is going to go to the worst case scenario. Oh, you say something, someone's going to give you feedback and it's not going to be positive, and they're going to kind of hack you down. They're not going to. Again, accountability groups, depending on how they're set up, depending on what the rules are in these groups, you want to uplift, encourage, and support. You're not there to tell people what to do, but you can share what you've done, which is incredibly powerful feedback, because again, it allows the members to not feel so isolated, to not feel so alone, to know that somebody else connects and realizes and has gone through or is going through what they're going through. There is nothing more powerful than to know that you are not the only one suffering with something, whatever it is. I was recently speaking to, I have a couple of family members who are active in AA, and they have said that never in their whole lives have they ever felt more connected to other people as they do when they are at a meeting. They never feel more connected. They never feel more included and loved and cared for exactly who they are. And that's an amazing thing. And I don't think AA is the only group that provides that and does that. But it's amazing when you are around other people that, again, sharing something, sharing either a struggle, something you're working towards, something you're trying to improve. There's nothing more powerful than when you have that with other people and you surround yourself with other people that are doing the same things. Next one is shared strategies and resources. You never know what somebody else has been through until you share with them what you're going through. And then they are able to give you some insight as to like, oh, I tried this. This is what I did. And when you haven't heard something like that, and all of a sudden it's like a light bulb goes off, that's probably one of the coolest things that happens when we, in the membership, when we have coaching calls, is people will start sharing about things that are going on, and people hear it from somebody else, and they hear someone else talking about it and then sharing what they're doing. And all of a sudden it's like, people are like, oh my gosh, I totally can relate to that. I'm going to try that. And then they come back and they report back and, oh my gosh, that totally worked for me. Like, no, being able to share your experiences with other people in the hopes that you are going to help somebody else, and that in turn you will get helped as well, makes a world of difference, a huge difference. It's just, it's just amazing. So again, it's a huge positive. And I'm not gonna say this is the last one because it's the second last one. Second to last one is an increased amount of self-awareness. When we are not isolating ourselves, when we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and we're allowing ourselves to be a part of something bigger than just us, it allows us to, and it almost forces us to be a little more self-aware, to be a little more self-reflective, to really think about our place in this world. It's really easy to kind of go within and isolate yourself. And especially when you're not feeling good about something in your life that you want to change, it's so easy to just be like, no, I'm just gonna not, I won't bother. Nobody really wants to hear it. I'm just gonna push that away. I'm not gonna do that. It's so easy to do that. And as I've talked about before on previous podcasts, one of the things that Brene Brown talks about is shame can only live with isolation and with exclusion. And so when we exclude ourselves, when we push other people away, and we isolate ourselves, and we feel like nobody understands us, nobody cares, and I don't want to burden anybody, that just creates more shame, and the shame begins to grow and just fester within us. And so it's really important to be able to have those connections with other people. And I think that's probably one of the most important things about accountability groups and about connecting with other people, is that we don't have to, shame can't exist. It can't exist without that isolation, and without being, without us being excluded from things. And so we have to kind of force ourselves sometimes to put ourselves out there, and to allow other people to be a part of our lives, and to share in these experiences of trying to create new things in our lives. The last reason that accountability groups are so important, and connecting with other people is so important, is I did a masterclass last February 20th, so last Monday, a week from Monday, and I talked about the reticular activating system. If you're not familiar with the reticular activating system, it is a part of your brain. It's a part of your subconscious brain. It's in your brain stem. It's kind of a part of your primal brain, your reptilian brain, the earliest brain that you have. And it is a magnet for filtering all of the beliefs that you have about yourself and reinforcing those beliefs. So if you have some really poopy beliefs about yourself, your reticular activating system is only going to filter incoming information to you that supports these horrible thoughts you have about yourself. And unfortunately, I don't know if there's anybody out there who hasn't ever experienced this, but unfortunately, when we surround ourselves with people that maybe believe those thoughts about us that aren't really very positive for us, or reinforce those thoughts, or don't support us, don't uplift us, don't encourage us to change or grow, we stay stuck with those negative thoughts. And then our reticular activating system reinforces those bad thoughts, reinforces those thoughts we have about ourselves. So it is so incredibly important that we surround ourselves with people that are going to uplift us and that aren't going to pull us down. And unfortunately, I'm not going to say anything new here. Sometimes those people are the ones closest to us, and they're members of our family. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to come to terms with. And, we always will talk about, you can talk about, we have family, and then we have family that we choose. And those are our friends. And those are the people that we choose to surround ourselves with. So the more that you can surround yourself with people, not only that have things in common with you, not only people that are working towards the same things, but people that are going, that sole purpose is to uplift and support and to be there for you, they are going to help you change those thoughts that you have about yourself that maybe aren't working for you, and that your reticular activating system is focusing on, because that's all it knows how to do. So really working on changing those negative thoughts is so very important. We have to do that surrounded by people who are going to help us and uplift us and allow us to move forward and allow us to really be the best people that we can be. They can't do it for us, but they sure as heck can encourage us, and they sure as heck can support us. And that's what's really important. So what does all this mean? What does it mean to, and how do you connect with other people? Well, again, it's one of the reasons why, if you don't know, in the last, I'm going to say 2 years, in the last 2 years or so, Facebook has really put a lot of energy and effort towards supporting groups in Facebook. And if you're in my group, if you're in my Breakthrough Emotional Eating group, you're probably in 25 other groups. If you're a group person, there are so many groups on Facebook, so many support groups, so many groups of people who have similar interests. And it's a place for people to come together, because again, the power of community is so very, very important. And within my community, within the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community, we're an incredibly large group, but I still want people to feel that connectedness. And so just recently, just yesterday, I posted in my group that, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, what is this group? You can go in Facebook and look up, if you put in emotional eating, my group's going to show up. But you also can just go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and you can join the group. And if you're in that free group, I just posted yesterday about a messenger thread of people who just wanted to be connected with other people in the group. And there's a post, it's in the group. And for anybody who, if you're listening and you're like, hey, I didn't see that post, go into the group, you can find it. And I will have a person monitoring and kind of, what is it called? I don't want to say mentoring, but oh gosh, the word will come to me, I'm quite sure. But it's just working that group and making sure that any questions that get answered, any things that come up that people can't, if there's a question that they have about emotional eating, about losing weight, about any of those things, about anything that has to do with my program, that could be a place for them to be able to ask questions and connect with other people who are feeling the same way that they are feeling. And they might not want to do it publicly in the big private group. So always an option for anybody. And again, within my membership group, I have offers of accountability groups in there as well. And those have, again, been incredibly successful. But I felt that it was really important, just because of the success that I'm seeing my clients having, I thought it was really valuable to be able to talk about why accountability groups, why connecting with other people is so very important, why we do that, why we need to do that, why we need to share who we are with other people and have people in our lives that are encouraging. And I'm not talking about yes men. I'm not talking about people who are just blowing smoke up your rear end. I'm talking about people who care, who will give you that feedback, and who will give you the feedback that's going to help you. Also the feedback that's going to guide you towards, kind of course correcting if you've gotten off course, but also just to listen and to be there. Because one of the most basic human needs, and one of the most basic things that every person on this planet really, really wants, is they want their thoughts and their feelings to be heard. When they have something to say, they want to know that people care. They want to know that somebody is out there and somebody wants to hear what they have to say. We all just want to be heard. And so if I can create that, not only within the free Facebook group, but also within my membership, I think that's really valuable to me. And it's something that will definitely improve people's lives and allow them to be able to reach whatever goal they need to reach. And again, just feel more connected, better mental health, feeling part of a group. It's just part of who we are as human beings. That connectedness is just it's what we thrive on as human beings. And so if we can create more of that, maybe we can create more happiness in the world. Maybe we can create more kindness and people just being nicer to each other. I think that's probably something that we all would love to see more of in this world. So I've talked a lot about the free group that I have. Again, that's Breakthrough Emotional Eating, which is my free Facebook group. And that again, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. But I've also mentioned this private Facebook group that I have, not Facebook group, excuse me, private membership group that I have that is not on Facebook. It is actually on a private network, on a private platform. And it is a membership group that helps people who really want to get deeper into addressing emotional eating, not only addressing emotional eating, but addressing themselves, how they feel about themselves, their beliefs about themselves as a person, as a human being, as a woman. And I think that, and then addressing their relationship with food and losing weight in the process, all of those things come together. And there's online coursework, there's coaching calls, there's connectedness, there's these accountability groups that allow people to really be able to change their lives and move forward. So if that's something you're interested in, and you're like, that sounds interesting, I'd like to hear more about that, just go ahead and in the notes for this podcast, I will put the link to information about the membership. And on this Facebook Live that's going live on my personal profile, my dear friend Kathy will, of course she has. She's already put the link to to the membership information. So you can click on that and you can check that out. You can also send me a message, a PM, and just ask me any questions that you have. And if you are listening on the podcast, there's a link in the show notes for my website, and you can send me a message through my website as well. All right, everyone, have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me live today. And we'll be coming live to you from my personal profile a lot more frequently. And I'll let you all know what's happening, not only with the podcast, but also with just general things that I do, challenges, classes, all that kind of good stuff to just help people in general feel better about themselves, grow and evolve and empower themselves to live their best lives. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.